Hello, everyone. My name is Gigi, if I don't know you, but I think I know everyone in this room. And here's my fellow spiel. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, originally, and I went to Calvin University and studied psychology and recreational leadership. I work at the Noble as a research fellow, and I live with the Fielder family, Brett and Meredith, Jude, Annie, and Remy. Thank you all for being here today. It's so sweet to look out and see the faces of so many people that I know and love, many of whom I didn't know 9 months ago. We're complete strangers. I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to share some reflections of the ways that the Lord has worked in my life this year. To be honest, this year has been one of the harder years of my life. A year of challenge and exposure, of growth. But it's been through that rawness that Jesus has met me, held me, and taught me, often in ways that I couldn't see in the moment. Don't get me wrong, it's been a really good year too. But I am going to talk a little bit about the 4 pillars of the Fellows Program and the ways that I've learned through each of them and grown through each of them. So first, community. I came into this year deeply grieving the loss of past communities, while also holding high expectations for what I think community should look like for me. Or what it should be. And while neither of these things are inherently bad or wrong, I was struck by these words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Those who love their dream of a Christian community more than the Christian community itself become destroyers of that Christian community, even though their personal intentions may be ever so honest, earnest, and sacrificial. It turns out community is hard, it's awkward, it's vulnerable, and sometimes even painful. But the Lord has gently revealed my tendency to idolize these things and to place it as a source of identity rather than a gift that points me back to Him. This year has been so beautiful to see how this community, in all of its imperfections, has been a kind of fishbowl experience of the body of Christ. The fellows, in particular our cohort, but also the fellows community at large. We didn't choose each other, and we did a lot of bickering throughout the year, but we also showed up for each other. We prayed, we forgave, and we celebrated together. My other primary community this year, besides this cohort, was the Fielder family, and I learned so much from them about what it looks like to show up for each other and to play, to prioritize each other, and lean into moments of joy. I have really cherished living in their basement and holding their babies and jumping on their trampoline and eating their cinnamon rolls. And as I look ahead, I'm excited to root more deeply into this community and in the communities otherwise in Chattanooga. I'm grateful to remain a part of the Fielder family and to practice more intentional hospitality in my new living space, which is yet to be determined. I'm excited to continue to get to know my neighbors here in Chattanooga and to share meals and stories. One of my favorite parts of this year, and I think one of all of our favorite parts of this year, has been Monday night community dinners, where we have stepped into a family's home and literally taken over their space and enjoyed their food and fellowship. And I think I have truly learned through experience the joy of sharing a meal and sharing stories and the power of such simple things. I'm excited to implement this in my life moving forward as being a host. There's such joy in simply gathering around a table. In the pillar of civic engagement, I, in college, developed a strong desire to love my neighbor, and a strong head knowledge of the importance of that and what it means to advocate for the needs of others. But translating that conviction into action is something that I struggled with, and that was kind of nebulous to me, hard to implement. But this year, through nonprofit visits and vocational lunches in particular, I've come to know so much more about the city of Chattanooga. We've all kind of joked this year that it's been not joke, this is serious, a mile wide and an inch deep of learning about the city, and hour-and-a-half conversations with people and visits of nonprofits. And so there's so much that I have yet to learn about this place and about this world. But I have come to know so much more about the city of Chattanooga and its diverse people, its strengths, and its challenges. I've learned that in order to advocate well, you have to know well. Looking ahead, I plan to weave this into my rhythm of life by continuing to be intentional about knowing the needs and the happenings in the city around me, which happens to be Chattanooga for the foreseeable future. I want to stay proximate, listen, and learn, and keep growing in the way that I love my city. As I entered Fellows, I had lots of ideas swirling about what I want to do professionally in my life. 9 months later, I still have lots of ideas swirling. It turns out that the Highlands battery did not tell me what I should do. It did not give me a clean and tidy answer and a 20-year plan. Who knew? But what examining vocation and learning about the vocations of others has done is it's changed the way that I think about calling in work. I think previously I had a high view of work, but I have learned to have a more full view of the imperfections and the way that idolizing work as a source of identity also is broken and will lead to dissatisfaction. I've learned that vocation is a process and not a destination. It's not about finding one perfect thing, but it's about taking the next faithful step. Through hearing so many people's stories this year over vocational lunch, I've learned some deeply freeing truths, 3 of which are there are so many ways to live a faithful and meaningful life. I think I came into the program with the narrative of nonprofit, service-minded work is the ultimate form of work, or healthcare, maybe. And business is slimy. But through hearing so many different people's stories in ways that their career has not followed a steady upward trajectory and has jumped around, I've learned that it's just not that simple. And there are many narratives that we believe that we believe simply because we haven't analyzed them or looked into the reasons that we believe them. One of the second truth that I've learned from vocational lunches and conversations is to always write your plans in pencil. We have learned a lot from people who've had big plans for their lives and big hopes for their lives. And I have big plans and hopes for my life. And that's not a bad thing. It's good to have plans. It's good to have forethought. But it's also good to hold it loosely and write it in pencil, because the Lord will erase it and change it. And yeah, being in tune with the ways that He will rock your boat is a good thing. The third truth that I've learned from studying vocation is that there is no work more valuable than another in the eyes of God. Maybe aside from a couple things. But yeah, as I kind of mentioned earlier, human dignity doesn't lie in the work that we do. And that has been deeply freeing for me as I think about myself in the work that I do and have done this year, and also has changed the way that I look at the people around me, and hold people in regard because of who they are and who they've been created by, rather than the work that they do. So I don't have a perfect vocational path mapped out, and that's okay. But instead, I'm moving forward with openness, curiosity, and a willingness to be faithful in the work that's right in front of me. For now, that means sticking around at the Noble, the nonprofit that I've interned at this year, and staying open to what God might do next. At the heart of all of this has been a growing and stretching and sometimes a painful deepening of my faith. The rhythms of worshiping at the mission, spiritual formation on Mondays, and Old and New Testament survey have been building blocks, pieces of foundation that I know will carry forward. This year, I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that God is not just present in clarity, but also in confusion. Not just in strength, but also in weakness. He's not waiting on the other side of our healing. He's with us in it. He doesn't ask for perfection, but for presence, for a heart tuned toward Him. During Lent, I practiced fasting from technology and giving God the first word of each day. This is also a concept that we read about in the Common Rule, and it has been a deeply transformational practice for me. Those habits have become grounding anchors when I've done it, and reminders that God speaks, and I don't need to fill the silence. Moving forward, I want to keep making space for stillness, and I want to keep choosing presence. I want to keep asking the kinds of questions that draw me back to Jesus, and not just the ones that lead to tidy answers. As Ralston often says, the goal isn't to get all your questions answered, but to learn how to ask better questions. And I don't know if you coined that quote or if it's someone else's, but credit where it needs to be due. But that certainly has held true of this program for me. I am not coming out of this program with all of my questions answered. And if any future fellows are watching this video, you won't. But you will come out of it knowing how to ask better questions, and maybe even more importantly, how to ask them with humility, with hope and with trust that God is not distant from the process. So my plan of intentionality is not about perfect clarity. It's about commitment to be present to where I am, to stay open to where God might lead, and to keep walking with others along the way. Thank you guys for walking with me this year. I'm so grateful.